Good morning.
Good morning.
I really didn't know what to talk about up here today. I actually wrote 2 different speeches that I threw out and had a couple of people read and think about other ideas only to tell me that they were terrible. So while I was sitting at my computer, I did what we all do. Became distracted by something random and stupid on the internet, and then started daydreaming about how badly I wanted it to be summer. Finally, though, I thought about all the stuff I did over this past summer, and one story seemed like it might work. My family and I went to Ireland in August and drove around the country for a week, staying in different towns, hiking, and we even got to see some people get into a fist fight. On our last night, we stayed near the airport we were leaving from in Shannon. There was not much to do around there, and we were all tired, so my parents decided that we should all see this Irish culture dinner show that was nearby. The show was held at this old big castle, probably the biggest castle that I have ever seen. It would have been cool if it wasn't dressed up like an amusement park. We parked in the castle parking lot, walked through the security checkpoint, and as we approached the castle, a short Irish man in a top hat pointed to a barn and told us that the show was actually in there. As we walked into the barn, the Irish people there, being Irish, welcomed everyone in and then handed them some form of alcohol. We were herded into the main part of the barn, and they sat us down at the tables where the food would be served to us. Anyway, there I am, eating dinner and completely focused on my food. I didn't hear the host of the show mention how the 4 female dancers on stage were going to demonstrate the next dance, and then get people from the audience to do it too. I kept eating and also didn't notice it when the host started to pick out people to go up and dance with the 4 attractive Irish girls on the stage. Finally, I didn't notice it when they picked out a kid about my age down in front and said that they needed 3 more guys like him. They started to work their way towards the back, and that's when I got a little nervous. I don't like going up in front of big crowds. I'm also not a fan of having to speak in front of them. And at that moment, I knew I hated the idea of having to dance in front of them. So what did I do? I slumped down a little lower and kept shoving in the mashed potatoes in front of me, hoping not to be seen by the host. But of course, the moment I did that, he came up to my table, pointed at me, and said, "Grab this guy." Now, anyone that knows me well will tell you how good I am with girls. I looked right at the girl I was supposed to dance with. Noticed how hot she was, smiled, and then I got up on that stage and showed up the entire dance troupe of that show. Or at least that's how I imagined it when I was nervous at eating the potatoes. I was actually so distracted by thinking about what I would do if I was chosen, that I didn't notice the entire barn actually staring at me. My mom actually had to nudge me and whisper to me and say, "Honey, they're staring at you. They picked you." I looked right up at the host, then at the dancer holding out her hand to take me on stage. I noticed how attractive and confident she was, but I didn't smile and jump right up. I turned bright red. Not only did I blush, but when I stood up, I tripped and fell back into my seat. All of this happening while everyone in the big barn had their eyes on me. Eventually, I stood up and let them take me towards the stage. I thought about how I could run right at that moment and get out of there. I really wanted to, but I knew I would have just tripped again and embarrassed myself even more. They put me next to one of the other victims, and I glanced at him for a second to see if he was having a panic attack as well. He looked at me, right at me, and started to laugh. He was laughing because of how nervous I probably looked, and because he was nervous too. I actually felt comforted by the fact that I wasn't alone in being really, really uncomfortable. I didn't even know if we spoke the same language, but I did feel slightly better. The music started, and the girl who was supposed to show me what to do told me to tap my foot. That was easy enough, but then she and another girl did some sort of spin and a twirl before they grabbed the other kid and me and told us to spin in a circle with them, doing the same thing they had just showed us. The girl was holding my hand with hers and had her other hand on my back. I should have done the same thing, but I was so nervous, I just reached out and grabbed her tricep like I was about to start some intense wrestling match. While doing this, I was still bright red and nervous the whole time, like the guy next to me. I managed to look over at the other 2 victims that were picked, and for some reason, they were having a blast. I wondered why I couldn't be like them. I wondered why I couldn't enjoy it too and look back. And looking back, the other 2 guys were completely hammered, so they couldn't have cared less about what was going on. We repeated it all again, and then the host kicked us off the stage. As we got off, some other drunken tourist heckled us. I didn't care because at least I was alive. I was looking forward to sitting back down at my table and just relaxing until I saw the looks on my family's faces. My brothers were each laughing while my dad was holding up his camera. I immediately wanted to go back to that stage. They heckled me the rest of the show, especially my brothers, who at one point asked me why I decided to grab the back of the girl's arm like I was about to fight her right there on stage. That was how I ended my trip to Ireland. I couldn't at first think of how to teach a lesson from this story, but thinking about all that happened that night, I remembered how much better I felt about the fact that I wasn't alone up there. The other guy next to me was just as nervous, and I felt better. I think that's what it's like here. Every day there is something we have to do that we'd rather not, like a really hard practice or something like a chapel talk. I personally feel better though because I know my friends are going to be up here at some point too, and some of them already have. I hate thinking about how hard a practice is going to be, but then I remember that a bunch of other people are going through it too, which makes us all support each other. My advice to all of you is to rely on your friends, on the people here at TP, because we're all in a similar situation. Support each other because no one else other than the people in this chapel will be able to relate to you in the same way. I would not have gotten through TP as well as I have if I didn't have the people helping me out through every step of it. Thank you.